Go.
Hello, and welcome again to MED Conversations with Moni, Emma, and Dawn. Last week we had thought about talking about alternative medicine and medicine, but today we've switched it to children.
Yes.
When should you let go as a mom, as a parent? How long should you hold on for? When is the best time to release them? What boundaries are you creating for them? What is your mode of discipline? And we just would like to speak about this from our own perspectives. And, you know, it would be lovely if we heard from everybody who's listening. Chip in your comments, write your comments, send us messages, and let's go. Emma, over
Yes.
to you.
Why don't we give Monia the opportunity to start this one, because this one, she has a little bit more experience than I have. Yes.
Thank you, Emma. Good morning, everybody. Hi, Dawn. And I'm
Good
so
morning.
sorry for logging in late. That's part of what we need to teach or learn from our children.
Yes.
IT and technology. I think for me, there's no right or wrong. Whatever anybody comes up with, you know, is just to learn from what everybody has to say and try to adapt it to our own personal circumstances. Should we guide them? I ask myself the same question every day. You know, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? And when I do, have I done it the right way? Have I got it right? Are they responding to me? You know, I question myself because I understand that I'm not raising little me's. I'm raising individuals in their own rights with their own minds and their own thoughts and their own wishes and observations. But as their mom, from when they were little, that's less of guiding, but more of keeping them safe. You know, now that they're a bit older, I think this is where the hard work really starts. You know, how much should we do and for how long as well? I think it depends on the individual child. You know, some children can be 30 years old and still need massive amounts of support. And another child can be 10 years old and as a mom, you see that they're totally independent and they get it, at least from my perspective. You know, I could be totally wrong that they get it, but that's what I feel and that's what I see, that they do get it. You know, so I think first of all is understanding me and what I'm bringing to the table, and then taking each child individually. But then I come up with, oh, you don't do that for me, and oh, you didn't do that for her, and that sort of thing, because obviously it's not the same brush I'm using for all children, which, you know, I'd be really fascinated to hear everyone's thoughts on what's the best way to do it, that we serve the children and be happy with what we're doing.
Yeah. Okay, mine is different because I have two kids from two different moms. So this actually brings a different picture, because with my son, who's 26, I was more or less a weekend dad. So raising him all weekends, holidays, I had him, it was a different thing. So I had to, the limited amount of time I had with him, I had to impose as much of me on him as I could. Yeah, in order to make sure that I had an ally. So now, raising my daughter, she's 9, being with her every day and watching her grow is a totally different dynamic. It's more about watching and learning from her how she wants me to treat her based on the experience I've had uh, from raising my son. Uh, it's difficult with Andre, my first boy. I mean, like I said, he's 26. I had to be a parent, three different types of parents. Parent when he was a kid, which involved discipline and correcting and projecting my own fears onto him, which is what we all do, all in the name of trying to raise the child. Then when he became a teenager, from a distance, especially when I moved to Indonesia to live, even though he was coming to spend time with me, but it was a long distance relationship. So it involved a lot of talking, a lot of phone calls, a lot of communicating without my physical presence until I had the chance to travel over when I finished my first project. And then as a young man in his 20s, when he decided to live by himself and, start his own relationship and, chase a different career from what, whatever I had thought about him doing. I'd always left him to be more, I've always been liberal with regards to career. I've never told him do this or study this, just whatever you feel, but support it until he finds what he wants to do, which is fortunately what my sister and my mom did with me. And so I just let him be, but I'll be supportive. And then watching him become a man. And like I mentioned last week, there was one incident when he came to Bali, I think 2 years ago, and we had a bit of a fallout because I was trying to get him to come to the office and see the business and then take some interest. And he wasn't having it because he wanted to stay in his creative space. And I felt a little bit slighted. So I confronted him and then we exchanged words. And eventually we broke open a bottle of brandy and started talking, and we're drinking, and he started to explain where he was as a man, how he thought, and how he would appreciate me to address him rather than look at him as somebody who cannot take responsibility for his decisions, believing that I know better than him when I'm not living the life that he's living. So instantly my relationship with him changed instantly, and I just became a little bit more, not distant, but less imposing. I didn't make suggestions with regards to what he should or shouldn't do. I just
more trusting.
Yeah, more trusting.
Of his own,
exactly,
of his own decisions.
Yeah, so he would just ask me, should he move in with his girlfriend? I'll be like, yeah, it depends on what you want to do. When he first asked me that, maybe it was 4 or 5 years ago, I would have said, no, I'm too young to be a granddad. But
what if you see that as parents, you've got life experience?
Yes.
You're not cleverer or more intelligent than the children.
Yes.
What if you can see something that might be his blind spot? Do you say it to him, or do you still say to him, it's up to you? If you want to move in with your girlfriend, it's up to you. What do you do? What do you do for the best? Because you might not say it, but you will act it.
Yeah, the natural parental instinct would be for you to try and correct the child. And because you've had the experience of certain things. But at the end of the day, that is also denying the child the opportunity to become who the child wants to become, because I didn't get to where I am without making a hell of a lot of mistakes. But those mistakes were purposeful, if you look at it that way. I needed those mistakes in order to get to where I am now. So by trying to, there's an old quote. They said, sometimes you meet your destiny on the road you took to avoid it. So if I sit down and I say to my son, hey, don't make mistakes or don't make the same mistakes I made, then I'm denying him the opportunity to learn new lessons that he can actually learn from going through those mistakes. So what I do is I try and avoid being judgmental. And all I do is I just wish him well and have faith that he would make the right decision or the wrong one. It doesn't really matter, as long as he is able to learn from it. And fortunately for me, every time I have done that and he has hit some kind of brick wall or some obstacle, he has always called and said, Dad, I don't know how to handle this situation. Can you give me advice on this specific thing? But just don't preach. Just tell me about this specific because
Daddy the preacher.
yeah, Daddy the preacher. So he just tells me, hey, don't preach, 25 minutes or less, because I can go on for hours. And usually that's when I make the phone call. So when he complains, I said, I'm paying for the call. I made the call. So but,
yeah, no, it's what about a situation where the other person has asked for advice and you've said, it's entirely up to you, but whatever you decide to do, I kind of support you.
yeah.
But they've taken it as a letdown, or they've perceived it as not caring.
Well, in my situation, I wouldn't say that is the dynamic, because the relationship I have with him has been one of absolute trust and clarity from day one. From when he was a little child, I always used to whisper into his ear that he was a great man. Regardless of whatever mistakes he has made, even when I've corrected him, I made it a point of duty to sit with him and discuss about why he is being corrected. So he didn't get. My dad was a strict man. My dad was a tough man too. You guys remember my father. The guy had a six-pack till he was in his 70s. So he was somebody who would actually take off his shirt and fight you. He was a disciplinarian, and I was a rebel. I was a bad example of a teenager. And I was the kind of kid people used to advise. Parents would say, don't walk with that boy. This guy is bad news. So I was conscious of that growing up. And I said, okay, I wouldn't make the same mistakes, or I wouldn't use the same process my father used. I would try and find my own way to communicate with my kids so I can have a proper relationship with them. And especially
do you think that your father being strict affected you negatively in terms of your parenting with your children?
It gave me information. I wouldn't say there was anything negative, because also I come from a polygamous background. So that added another different dimension to the whole situation. So it gave me information. And because I chose to study myself, it gave me an added ammunition. Yeah, because I first of all acknowledged what part of my father I had, what part of my mother I had. I balanced the two, and I started to develop my own personality. So that way, doing that work on myself allowed me to see him as my son, and not as the son of a personality I inherited, but as my own son. And that allowed my message.
And an individual in his own right.
Yeah, allowed me to see him. You are also somebody's son, but you have your own character. So I can't actually start imposing because the only thing we impose on children are mostly, I wouldn't say, our belief systems and our fears.
Yes.
This is something that it took me a long time to understand. We impose our fears on our kids because you're always like, oh, don't go there because you fell down. Doesn't necessarily mean the kid will fall down.
True.
Yeah.
True.
So
True.
it doesn't necessarily mean the child will fall down. The child might handle the situation better than you. I mean, like I told you last week about my daughter sleeping in the dark room. I mean, she handled it way better than me. Way better than I handled it. I didn't.
But we're all social beings, though, and isn't it our responsibility to help our children belong to our tribe, so to speak? Have a sense of, I'm part of this community. This is my social tribe. We can decide to not do that, and I think, I could be wrong, they feel disconnected and find that actually they don't belong anywhere else, because they've grown up in this tribe, but we can choose not to let them be part of this tribe. And at the same time, they haven't grown up in the other tribes, So, you know, how do you
balance
draw
it?
the balance? I mean, what do you think?
I think Dawn would be probably better with this particular one. When you look at no, but because it's true now. Look at your daughters. Your daughters have actually grown up to be mini champions of their own particular parts and industries. So this is a testimony to who the mom is as well. You know, handling that, grooming them for whatever path that they've chosen to path. And it's such a diverse thing when you look at, you know, like I listen to your daughter's TED talk, and I listen to, and I see also Ray with the photo shoots, and I see all this confidence in these children moving in these particular directions. And I'm like, okay, this wouldn't have been an easy thing to do. You know?
No.
Yeah. So,
For me, I do not impose the tribe thing on them at all.
I don't necessarily mean nationality, tribe, village,
or just like environment,
state of origin. More environment, more as a human being, you know, the kind of people you relate with, that sort of tribe.
Yeah.
But until you're in touch with yourself, you cannot really help a tribe at all. You can only blend in. You cannot truly be of great value to where you are hoping to belong. You're completely lost, and you will just, you know, be swept with whatever is coming or whatever is projected or whatever trend is happening at that time. So let them know themselves, let them understand who they are. First of all, is my thinking, you know, and as there's time enough for them to forge, you know, link hands and give back as they've learned to embrace themselves. So when they decide where they want to belong, they're able to not be swayed. They're able to stand on their own 2 feet. They know who they are as individuals, first and foremost, is my own way of thinking. And once they know who they are, they're able to fit in anywhere. They will not, you know, absorb.
Sorry, but the thing is, looking at it from what Ammonia asked, which is specifically whether they would feel at any point in time disconnected from you if you are not active in giving them the blueprint to navigate through life. Let's use it like that. So, I mean, it's like we can actually say, okay, you know, ride your horse, you know, but they'll be on the horse wondering, how come you're not beside me on the horse? You know, what if I fall down?
Right.
You know, that kind of thing.
How come you don't even have a horse?
Yes, but ultimately, if you don't have that strength of character within yourself, and I'm not saying be alone, you know, as you are developing, you're developing alone. No. Your tribe is around you every second of the day, every moment, you know. But I am saying don't get lost in the trends. Know who you are. Take time for yourself. Understand what you represent to yourself, first and foremost.
Absolutely, I agree with you. But then that brings us back to individual children.
Yes.
Because there are some children, like my middle one, who,
I saw it.
I'm in the tribe of the flies.
I saw it just as it was about to perch on your forehead. I saw it.
And, you know, I have one who is very single-minded, very focused, you know, so it's easy, in quotes, to really, really let him be him. As opposed to other children who are less single-minded. And the other thing is every child comes to their own in their own time. You know, I call myself a late bloomer. You know, for a lot of time, I was probably on the fringes, just watching what was happening all around me without connecting with any part of my environment until much later in life, where some people from a very, very young age, they know this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing, this is how I want it done. You know, so how do you balance it? How do you balance it? And for me as well, as a mother, you're growing. You're growing.
Yeah.
So,
if you're a mom and your daughter or your son has reached a certain age, you have to begin to ease the reins a little bit and begin to trust in the work that you have put in.
That's not easy, though. You know, that is very difficult to do because there's a especially for mothers, because I remember Andre's mom.
Yeah, but I'm saying a little by little.
And
you must give the child
and sons.
You must give the child that freedom. There's no other way around it.
I think there's a dynamic, you know, because the thing is, fathers and daughters, mothers and sons, the relationship is very different, you know, and this I noticed because my relationship with my daughter is my son and me, we used to hang, but we would quarrel more. My daughter was like, you know, if she sees me frowning and she'll just come and just cuddle and be like, Daddy, what's wrong? And she's like, it's a different feeling. You know, when we're learning about male and female energy, and that balance thing, you know, the dad compensates for the lack of male energy in the daughter, and the mom compensates for the lack of female energy in the son, and all that. And I think, not to say that what you're saying is not correct, but I'm saying, like, just because the child is male, you would approach the child slightly different if the child is female. Yeah, and you know, you have all ladies, all queens and princesses. Ammonia, your kids mixed.
I've got two daughters and I've got a son.
Yeah. See, I have two sons and a daughter and a stepdaughter who's 18. Now my stepdaughter, she's in her rebellious phase, and because I'm not her biological dad, sometimes I have to be a little bit less correctional. You know, I have to give the mother information on what I suggest the mother should do, but I can't actually take direct action because she's not my biological child. And she can always use that, because when kids are in their rebellious phase, they're looking for ammunition. Anything that they can use. Yeah,
and I'm always the ammunition.
But you can keep reminding her of your love. That's
oh yes.
Your ammunition. Yes. You may not like what I have to say. You may tell me I'm not your real father, but it doesn't stop my love for you. You know,
and the present help too. The present.
Yes,
that's a good point. I actually did that today as well. You know,
you will find that
if I didn't love you, I wouldn't do X, Y, Z.
Yeah, you'll find that they respond better. You know, they may still try, but it has sunk in. And never forget that every word we speak is a seed. Yeah. Now I've come to the realization that a lot of the times children don't hear the words, they hear the tones.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so it's up to us to nurture the loving tones more, you know, and pass it on to them, you know, so they're responding more to that than to the you must do this or this is how it should be. You know, that
but
kind
even
of
then,
thing.
it depends. For me, even that, I agree, you know, and it's less stressful on you when you're talking to them in a gentler tone than when you're sounding aggressive. But even that, the tone has to be, there's different decibels
I understand. I understand being firm.
Different children you know, hear it differently.
Yes.
You can
Yes.
talk like this to one child and you'll be talking till you're blue in the face and 6 foot under, and they haven't heard anything.
It's not coming through. I understand, but ultimately, there are some children that must learn. There's some children that must learn from experience.
Yes.
There are some children that will learn by just looking at what is happening to the next person.
Yes.
That's the younger ones.
Yeah.
The younger ones always sit back and watch.
Yes.
Yes, they're looking, you know, but there are some that will be the ones that will run into that fire.
Me, I didn't just run into the fire. I made the fire.
No matter what you say, no matter what you know, how you try to caution them, it's not working. They have to, you know. So you have to balance it. The ultimate thing is, if you're not seeing how your training is playing out at this time, have faith. I always say it, have faith in yourself. Like, you know, Emma said, that is difficult, but it's something that you have to cultivate. Have faith in your words. Have faith in the fact that you have sown these seeds and they're going to bloom.
Yeah, they're going to
germinate. They're going to grow. You know, now the thing is, okay, you've sown the seeds. How do I nurture them? How do I now nurture these seeds that I have planted? That's the question. And we must always remember that the seeds are not going to grow overnight.
Yes.
These children
and it's also balancing. You planted this seed for child 1 10 years ago, or 18 years ago, and for child 2 17 years ago, and for child 3 10 years, you know, at different times. So as a mother, you have to be so super grounded in yourself.
Precisely. Exactly.
That's in and out, you know, you've dealt with child 1, and then you have to put on a different cap very quickly to deal with child 2, and put on a different cap very quickly to deal with child 3. You know, but how we grew up, there were so many children in the household, it became a situation of, are you not the same mother and father? Why do I have to tell you different from your sister?
From this one. Yeah.
That's the thing. But it must all be under the umbrella of love.
Yeah. I guess
it just has to be.
Yeah. I guess, like, again, I always go back to learning about myself, because if I use the techniques my father used, I don't think I'll get the same results I have right now. My dad was...
And the world is changing.
Yeah, of course.
The world is changing.
Yeah, the world is...
What we see today, I get scared, you know, and I try to rein that in, you know, and superimpose with focusing on the better parts. But what we see, they see.
But they see it differently. And you have to understand.
They may see it differently, but ultimately it could be injuring innocence that you want to preserve for as long as possible.
Why do you want to preserve the innocence?
That's exactly another question I was going to ask, because that could also...
Because maybe that's their time to grow up.
Yeah. That could also be a situation of attachment.
When they're 14, or maybe they need to grow up when they're 21. And, you know, that's our fears to manage as best as we know how.
Yes, but what is it doing?
We went out yesterday. My son is 18, and of course 18-year-olds, you know, we say it, let them be, he's a young man, and so on and so forth. And he sent me a message and said, okay, you can go now, you know, the mommy part of the party is over, so you can go now. And I didn't mind that, you know, and he saw us off to the car and did all the right things, and he left, took his mask, and he left. And I got in the car, and I did try, honestly, I promise I tried. But as soon as I got into the car, so I was just about to start the car, I sent him a message: be sensible. You know, and all the drive home, I was asking myself, what was that for?
I don't think we can help it sometimes.
No,
I
but
don't
it's
think we can help it
necessary.
sometimes.
I think that also goes to that question you asked, where if you don't, because that is also, like you were talking about, if we don't actually participate, will they feel like we don't care? So even that be sensible is also a reminder of your affection.
Children do like boundaries.
Yeah.
They do.
They
may be uncomfortable, but they do inherently like boundaries.
And they don't do well without boundaries.
Yes, they don't.
I mean, all human beings need to feel what's the you need to feel secure and insecure at the same time, which is the paradox, you know, because it depends on what particular situation you're engaged or facing.
Right. And
go on. Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
No, finish.
No, I was going to go back to the innocence and preserving. It's not as though you're going to mollycoddle them and, you know, shield them from everything. But certain things they see, they don't need to. Yeah. I don't think, because they're alternatives. Now, I say this because as they grow, you are trying to plant seeds, right? And no matter what it is, everything a child is seeing, everything a child is hearing is a seed, you know, and we don't know where these things later in life will come up or block growth from happening.
But then that's your tribe. Those seeds, that's our tribe. Those seeds we're planting.
Yes.
To some, you know, is our tribe. So if we're wanting them to go out and be them and do them and all of that, should we be planting those seeds?
Well, you need a foundation.
Which would have happened, and the foundation would have happened from 0 to 7. Maybe 0 to 7.
Like every building, you have different layers. I mean, when you start the building, you put your concrete and you put your screed and you put your, you know, you put your stainless, your steel, but you still need to put party walls, which in its own is almost foundational because it actually defines the structure of the building post foundation. So the foundation actually has to get laid up until the time when they lay their own foundation. I guess maybe using the word foundation makes it sectional, but each time they are now jumping from one set of ideals to the next. It is necessary to give them some guidance, and that guidance is what I call the foundation. So like when they get to 7 years old, you know, just like you have movies are rated 13, movies are rated 5. So let's take it from 0 to 5. That is,
I mean, somebody who is 5 cannot be watching an 18. It will be damaging.
Yeah. So
no, I mean, obviously when they're children, you know, 5 years old is a child, end of. All over the world, it's a 5-year-old is a child.
Yes.
But when they get to that age where, you know, different communities accept different ages, the number, you know, some say 10, some say 13, you know, at what point do you start to, you know, slacken the ropes? So
it depends on the child. It depends on the child. How much responsibility has that child shown or
they're
displayed?
growing up. They're all growing up together.
Yeah, but they're growing up differently. They're growing up differently. They are
but in the same physical household, they are growing up together. And you, the mother, is the same.
Yeah, but their personalities are different.
But their personalities are
different. So how do you tailor it for the living room? Obviously, depending on the personalities, I can go to one child's room and have that appropriate conversation for that child.
Yes.
There are things, you know, in general, there are general things that, I mean, like, you know, Emma said, this is the foundation. We, you know, kindness cannot be overemphasized amongst, even if it's 50 personalities, that must be a standard in the home. you know,
I agree. And those
cleanliness.
foundations, those
Yes.
virtues will have started. You don't just wake up one morning when they're 13 and start teaching them that.
Right.
Absolutely.
And even more than teaching them, you don't exemplify it, because they will learn what they see.
Yes.
You know, so even from childhood, you can't keep saying, you know, clean your room, clean your room, clean your room, and my room is an absolute pigsty. You know, it doesn't work that way.
Yes.
You know, so most of that foundation has already been laid.
Yeah.
And it's a very subconscious thing. Children fundamentally learn what they see.
Yes.
You know, so I mean, I don't know if anybody has any pearls of wisdom of how they can see what is appropriate to each individual child, with all of them being so different.
You study your child. You have to. There's no question about it. You must study your child, know the likes and dislikes, emphasize more on the good points, highlight the good points. This is something I do a lot, you know. I make sure I highlight the good points. You'll almost think these people are invincible or that there's no bad in them, because I suppress that in them a lot. I see it.
But why would you do that? Because they need to understand, you know, themselves, so that they can.
It's not something I magnify. So I'm not. I have to be.
It, but
but you see, you can break their spirit if you keep harping. When you talk about
no, you don't harp on it, but you have to be a little bit honest
about
like
it.
Oh yes, no, absolutely.
You know,
it's
even
there.
for
You
the
see
things
it.
That
you deal with it.
You know,
you deal with it, but
the parts of the character or whatever that, you know, could be better. You
deal with it, but
absolutely. But
you see, the thing is, as you're raising them, and you're magnifying the good, you're building patterns within them. And this pattern is what you want them to carry on throughout life. As you build the good and you praise, they respond more to that.
True.
You build
that is true.
Yes, they respond more to that, you know. So
they make more positive choices, basically.
They make more positive impact. They try more.
Yeah.
And this, you know, this is building them up till it becomes a pattern. They don't even need it. It's just something that is flowing like a river.
Yeah.
You don't need to have an input any longer.
But you know, at some point in time, at some point in time.
No.
The child, hang on a
Life is
second.
about contrast.
I'm saying at some point in time, the child is going to confront their own devil too. This is something that happened to me.
They are confronting.
Yeah, this is something that happened
on a daily basis.
I'm talking about a different kind of confrontation, something that I saw with my son as well.
Okay.
And where he actually had to acknowledge his own bad parts. That's the only way the only word that makes sense. He had to actually acknowledge that he is capable of doing this and he's capable of doing this. And he owned that. When he owned that, then he knew that his choices were conscious and informed, rather than being based on peer pressure and it being based on him
precisely
ignorance. So I agree. The reinforcement of that, like I said, from childhood, I've been telling my son, "You're a great man. You will change the world." Like my daughter, there's nobody more beautiful than her. Even the other day, she asked me. I said, "You're the most beautiful," and she would ask me, "How can I be the most beautiful?" I said, "You're the most beautiful to me. That's what matters to me. You are the most beautiful child to me." And that's it. It doesn't really matter what any other person is. I'm focused on me. You are my daughter.
So she knows that with you, she has
she's safe.
She has a safe place.
Yes.
So we're saying the same thing ideally. The only thing is we're using different, like what I said to you, Don, we're saying the same thing, but through different mouths. It's just the mouth you're using to say it. So ultimately, you know, the way I see, like what Amonia was talking about, if you have 3 kids and you've nurtured them the same and you acknowledge their individual personalities, but you want to have a conversation with all 3 of them in the parlor, how do you deal with that? That's kind of like what you were trying to say, yes? That's what you were trying to say, yes? What is that?
Yes, because I mean, I get it. I've got 3 totally different children, and I love them all very much.
We'll have to talk to all of them at one time. Say, okay,
at one time, and
listen to this.
Whether we like it or not, there's the one that resonates.
Yes.
There's the one that is similar.
Yes.
You know, or you have like ideas and everything.
The best way I will recommend is to open your handbag.
What has my handbag got to do with this?
Bring the money out. Bring the money out. It's time to buy shoes. It's time to buy something that we're laughing about this, but you see, the thing is, there has to be something that commonly all of them would be able to agree, harmonize, and laugh about and enjoy collectively. And usually that's like sharing something like food or give something that they all like. And then,
when they are younger, yes, that's
even as they're older, there'll be one thing
even
that
as they're older,
there'll be one thing you'll cook that all of them,
you'll be surprised what like difference 5 pounds can make.
Exactly.
One is very money-minded, one is not money-minded.
There you go.
I've always trusted the wallet. I've trusted the power of the wallet. Well, I know.
Yeah, but is that what we want to? Are we using that as? Should we be using that as a weapon or
yes,
not?
Yes, we should. We should. Because at the end of the day,
I don't think so. I think we should have a commonality.
Let's be practical. Let's be practical.
Pounds and pence.
Let's be practical. We live in a world that is designed by the use of currency. The education about currency and money is also necessary for the child to have. You need to teach your child how to use money, what money is about, and how to think like an entrepreneur.
I agree, but we are talking about the fundamental.
I know we're talking about bribing our children. That's what we're talking about. Let's just call it what it is.
No, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, but somehow it's necessary every now and then to just give them a little bit of a bribe.
For me, I build a foundation first that is common with all of us, and then I address them individually there and then.
It teaches them tolerance of each other.
Yes, I say you are like this.
Understand that this is my sister, this is my brother. I don't like it, but I'm happy to do it. You know, it's not harming me. I'm happy to go along with my brother because I know he likes it.
And I don't expect what I say everybody to follow that rule at the same time. Some may jump on it as soon as I say it. Some will think, please, what is Mama talking about, So I am very watchful, extremely watchful. I like them to come to their own realizations more than me forcing them to toe my line. I usually tell them what we say, the proverb we say, what you climb the highest mountain or tree, you understand, to see. And you can't even see. We will stay from the bottom and see it ahead because we are much older, But you have to still give them that room if you find, and have faith at the same time. It's, like Emma said, it's a very fine balance. It's a very delicate balance, rather.
Very delicate. Very delicate.
Give them that room, but also have faith at the same time that they will make the right choices, even if they make mistakes.
And the thing is also like the quote that came to my head as we were just talking is, if you start, the one who stands upon the shoulder of the giant sees further than the giant. The one who stands upon the shoulder of the giant sees further than the giant.
For those are the ones that who watch and learn. That's from other people's experiences. They're very watchful, but there are some that there's some that need to make.
So how does everyone balance learning all the children, 3, 4, 5 children, as well as growing in oneself? There's not enough hours in the day.
Well, you see, this is very important.
Yeah? Netflix you wanted to watch.
This is also very important, what you just said. Simply because we have to also understand that your own daily activity would affect the way you raise your children as well. Your interaction with your child on a daily basis, even on an hourly basis, would also determine the kind of relationship you have with your child. What I do is, fortunately for me, because I own my own business, I go to the office at 11 o'clock. So between anything till 11 o'clock, if she's not going to school, especially now with this new normal, I'm with Lucy. Yeah. I'm with Sarah. We're talking, we're laughing, you know, wake up, she wake me up and all of that. So we bond, we have breakfast together and all that. Once it's 6:30 when I close, even if I have a meeting, I want to spend 30 minutes to 1 hour with her before I go out. So we have this bond, this thing that goes on. So these are times that are hard times. Like on a Sunday now, she's gone to the beach with the mom. When she comes back now, she's going to be all over this. When she comes, and if we're still doing this, you would see the difference, you know, because she's going to take over everything. And so we have this kind of relationship where I try to make time. A lot of us are very busy. A lot of us have to work, sometimes 9, 10 hours. I mean, and that affects the relationship you have, because when you come back home, you're already dealing with the stress from work.
Yeah.
And you're coming back looking for a moment of levity, just to relax, to get that stress away. You know, it's not like you're wearing a coat where you can take the coat off and hang it outside, which is an analogy. But, you know, you're dealing with that stress. So ultimately, I believe that the better parent you become depends on how better you as an individual becomes. When you learn to handle your stress, you learn to, when your daughter is running to you and you come back from work and you've had a nasty day and she's running and you're like, rather than before, you'd be like, you know, just wait, let me put my, you know, you'd remember that you're not facing your enemy. And then you still let that embrace help you deal with the stress, rather than reject the embrace simply because you're in a stressed state of mind. So this was one of the toughest things for me to learn.
But I think that also takes learning how to apply the brakes at short notice.
Yes.
Because when you're caught up in the dynamics of you've just had a tough day at work and you come back, or whatever is going on in your mind, even if you're at home with the child, things might happen and it's playing on your mind and everything. You know, it's learning to, you know, shift from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 in, you know, milliseconds, literally.
Yes.
And I think for me,
have a child
is that we need to accept that we're good enough parents as opposed to the perfect
absolutely.
parents.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because in chasing that perfection for us is a problem in itself.
Yes, of course.
To add to what Emma says, I have a child, and this is a recent discovery for me. I find when I am very heightened in happiness or joy, that child responds 110% better. Now, when I am calm, even though I'm happy, I'm fine, you know, I'm just calm, there's a tendency for that child to slip into a mood. It's very interesting.
Like that as well.
It's very interesting to me, you know.
But for me, it's not my natural state is not hyper-excitability or anything like that.
No, I mean,
you know,
no,
I can sit quietly and be very happy, you know, but I'm not saying much, you know.
Exactly. You're fine because you're just calm.
That I'm like, you know,
so I make an effort now to, you know, rise myself, raise my feelings to show there's that buzz, at least after a while, I think that when that child becomes more comfortable over time, it will even help me anyway.
Yeah. I mean, the
It would even help me.
new normal is a challenge on
It
all
is.
levels.
It
And
is.
it's an opportunity to actually get to know yourself better. And the better you become, the better parent you become, the better everything you become. I can look at my wife and my relationship with my wife over this last 4.5, 5 months has improved dramatically simply because I made a conscious effort to work on that. We've had 1 or 2 setbacks, but still, it is a question of making the effort to work on that relationship and changing the way I see myself and the way I see her. Because if I can see myself in a better light, then everything is actually projected to be brighter for me. And I think that also runs through it too. And
that happens to me as well, very much so.
You know, and so, like I said, we're all saying the same thing with different mouths. And
in different locations.
In different locations with different tribes.
Learn yourself, be yourself, and then you'll let your children be themselves.
Be themselves, yes, that's absolutely true. And it's nice. I think we're lucky to have kids. We're lucky to be able to experience them grow up and mature
absolutely.
And you see the transition through their different characteristics and how they form their personalities and you know, the innuendos and the challenges and the injuries and everything.
And we're blessed to have them be our teachers as well.
Yeah, most important.
They absolutely are.
To some extent, you know, they are our teachers.
Yes, most importantly. I mean, I learn more from my daughter than I do, and she instructs me. You know, so not just learning, she instructs.
I wonder where she learned that from, Emma.
Oh, from her mom. From her mom. I get instructions from 2 people. You know, I'm so when people ask me what do, I say I work for my princess and my queen. That's what I do because they take precedence. But this is a very important topic, and I'm very, very grateful that you switched the topic because this is something that I feel people need to hear, because there are a lot of challenges that we just assume are individual. Oh, this is just my kids are this. Like, that's what my mom used to say. Oh, my son, there's something wrong. Oh, I hope it's not a banjo. I hope it's not this one or that one. You know, let's go to Father Ile, let him pray for you. You know? But it was just me acting out simply because I didn't know who I was.
You weren't allowed to be you.
Or maybe I was allowed to be too much of me. That's maybe another thing, because growing up in
because even if your parents let you be you, you can't underestimate that the society you're growing up in may not let you be you.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
and then you're torn, you know, in 2 directions.
Yeah, but ultimately, you know, it's not easy to let go. Going back to the original topic, for me, it was very difficult. I can just imagine what would happen when my daughter gets to 18. You know, I may have shot a few boys by then. I don't know.
You'll be in prison, so you will let go.
You know, so I don't know, because I'm so attached to my daughter, you know, and I want what's best for her. But I'm also aware that, you know, there's an old thing that someone told me once. He said, what brings about wisdom? Well, wisdom comes from making good decisions. Okay, what brings about making good decisions? Good decisions
bad decisions
from the realization of making bad decisions. So ultimately, wisdom comes from making bad decisions. And this is true. And the thing is to, like that saying from St. Francis of Assisi says, give me the serenity.
The courage.
Yeah,
courage to accept the things.
Yeah, accept the things that I can.
Serenity, right.
Yeah, the courage to accept the things that I can, but the wisdom to know the difference.
To know the difference.
That's the key. Is that wisdom of knowing, okay, it's time. it hurts, but it's time. Like my sister sent me a message, and then her son called me because his son is going to university, and he's going to move out of the house, and I know it's going to hurt my sister because they're like best buddies. Baronet, Baronet, and so they're like best buddies, and I know Baronet is going to feel it, but she just accepted it. And Baronet is my second mom, so I talk about her with great passion. So she just accepted it, and she's like, I'll deal with that when that happens. On the interim, I don't want to think about it. I'll just deal with it when it happens. And I think that's the wisdom that we need to be able to know, okay, like you said, Dawn, let's just trust them, see where it leads. And we'll just, lay in the cut.
I think that's the path I'm on now.
Yeah, as a guiding force.
Trusting.
Yeah, just trusting and just be there watching. And when they need you, you turn up. If they need you, you turn up. If they don't,
sometimes you might have to step in. And on this juncture, we will have to close, leave you. Let's hear your comments. Please write in, please say something, leave a note, and we love you.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Specify an email address if they want to actually reach out to you or somehow. I think we might have to create some kind of an account where people can actually.
Okay, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah,
sure. No problem. We will get on that and we'll put it out there for everybody. So you can also email us and you can check for us on YouTube as well. Just leave your comments. Let's hear from you. It will be very interesting to hear what you have to say on this topic for all the super parents out there. We love you.
And the tiger moms and tiger dads.
Okay.
Cheers.
You guys
and
have a lovely
love
day.
To all the beautiful children.
Yes. Yes. We thank God for our kids. We thank God for our kids. Have a lovely day, everybody. All right.
Bye, guys. Okay. Take care.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.